The air conditioning in the waiting room was set to freezing, but I was sweating. Not from the heat, because there was none, but from the fear clawing at my throat. I looked at the digital clock on the wall. 11:45 p.m. Who conducts job interviews at midnight? Only KM Corporation. Only Kang Min-Ho. I smoothed down my skirt for the 100th time. My hands were shaking. I needed this. I didn't just want it, I needed it. My tuition was 3 months behind, and if I didn't pay by Friday, my student visa was gone. I'd be on a plane back to Lagos before I could even pack my bags. Miss Diana? The secretary didn't even look up from her tablet. She just pointed to the heavy double doors at the end of the hall. He will see you now. Don't touch anything. Don't speak unless spoken to. And whatever you do, don't stare at him. Okay, I whispered, my voice dry. Thank you. I walked toward the doors. They were massive, made of dark wood that looked older than my entire bloodline. I pushed one open and stepped inside. The room was pitch black. I froze. Hello. Nothing. Then I heard it. A heavy, ragged breath. It sounded like someone was dying. Or hunting. Close the door, a deep voice commanded from the shadows. The voice was smooth, like velvet wrapped around a jagged rock. It vibrated in my chest. I pushed the door shut behind me, plunging the room into total darkness. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. Mr. Kang? I'm here for the personal assistant position. Come closer. I took a step. My heels clicked on the marble floor. Closer. I took another step. The room was freezing, even colder than the hallway. It felt unnatural. It felt like walking into a freezer. Stop. I stopped. My eyes were adjusting to the gloom. I could make out a shape behind a massive desk. A man. He was leaning forward, his head in his hands. Give me your hand, he ordered. Sir. Your hand, Diana. Now. I hesitated. This wasn't in the job description. But the desperation in his voice, it wasn't a threat. It sounded like a plea. I reached out into the darkness. A hand grabbed mine. His skin was burning. That was the first thing I felt, intense, searing heat. It was like touching a stove burner. I gasped and tried to pull away, but his grip was iron. Don't move, he hissed. And then, the strangest thing happened. As his burning fingers wrapped around my cool wrist, the pain didn't burn me. Instead, a shockwave of something else shot up my arm. It felt like diving into a cool ocean on a hot day. It was a rush of pure relief, but it wasn't coming from me. It was coming from him. He groaned, a low, guttural sound that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It sounded like a man taking his first drink of water after walking through a desert for weeks. What? I stammered, my pulse racing. What is happening? He didn't answer. He just slid his thumb over the pulse point of my wrist. The heat from his hand was overwhelming, but my skin was soaking it up. I didn't understand it. Usually, I hate the heat. I get heat stroke easily. But this felt right. It felt like two puzzle pieces clicking together. He stood up, still holding my hand. He was tall. Even in the dark, I could feel he towered over me. He pulled me closer, so close I could smell him. He smelled like smoke and expensive cologne. You, he whispered, his voice rough. What are you? I'm Diana, I breathed, looking up into the darkness. I could see his eyes now. They were glowing. Faint, dark red embers in the blackness. No, he said, and for the first time, he sounded clear. Focused. You are the cure. Subscribe to Afro K-Drama Stories. If you are enjoying this story, please smash that like button and comment down below where you are watching from. Welcome back, besties, and if you are new here, welcome to the family. Let's get back to the story. He released my hand abruptly, and the loss of contact made me stumble. The cold air rushed back in, making me shiver. Sit, he said. The lights flickered on, dim and low. I blinked, blindingly adjusting to the light. Kang Min-Ho was standing there. He was more handsome than the magazine said. High cheekbones, sharp jawline, Messy dark hair that looked like he had been running his fingers through it for hours. But he looked exhausted. There were dark circles under his eyes, and his skin was pale, almost gray. He was wearing a black suit, but the top 3 buttons of his shirt were undone, exposing his collarbone. He walked around the desk, not taking his eyes off me. He looked at me like I was a glass of water, and he was dying of thirst. "The position is filled," he said. My heart dropped. "What?" "But you didn't even ask for my resume. I have a degree in—" "I don't care about your degree," he interrupted. He picked up a piece of paper from his desk and slid it across the marble surface toward me. "I'm offering you a different contract." I looked at the paper. It was a single page. Bold letters at the top. Live-in caretaker. Caretaker. I frowned, looking up at him. "Sir, I'm not a nurse. I applied for the administrative role." "Read the salary," he said, leaning back against his desk, crossing his arms. His gaze was intense, traveling from my face to my hands, then back to my eyes. I looked down. My eyes widened. I blinked, thinking I was seeing things. 5,000,001 a week? I squeaked. That was more than I would make in 6 months at a normal job. "Tax-free," he added. "Plus room and board. You will live in my penthouse. You will be available 24/7. Available for what?" I asked, my guard going up instantly. "Sir, if this is some kind of—" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. It was dry and bitter. "You think I want you for sex?" He shook his head, looking at his own hands. "Trust me, Diana. That is the last thing on my mind. I need proximity." "Proximity. I have a condition," he said quietly. He took a step toward me. The heat radiating off him hit me again. It was stifling. My body overheats. It burns through energy faster than I can replenish it. Doctors can't fix it. Medicine doesn't work. But you. He looked at me with that hungry look again. "When I touched you," he said softly, the burning stopped. For the first time in 10 years, it stopped. I stared at him. This was insane. He was insane. I should leave. I should run out that door and never look back. This was how horror movies started. But then I thought about the eviction notice on my counter. I thought about my mom back in Lagos, waiting for me to send money for her surgery. I thought about the emptiness of my bank account. "Is it dangerous?" I asked. He paused. "For you? No. You seem immune to the heat. In fact, you feel cold. Unnaturally cold." I wrapped my arms around myself. I had always been cold. Even in the Nigerian heat, my skin was always cool to the touch. My grandmother used to call me her little riverstone. 5,000,000 a week, I repeated. "And I'll pay off your student debts," he said. "Tonight." My mouth fell open. He knew? How did he know? "I do my research," he said, answering my unspoken question. He held out a pen. "Do we have a deal, Diana?" I looked at the pen. Then I looked at him. He looked dangerous, yes. But he also looked broken. Behind those glowing dark eyes, there was a deep, ancient pain. And strangely, I felt a pull toward him. Not just the money. It was something in my blood. Like the tide being pulled by the moon. I took the pen. My hand brushed his fingers again. Spark. The relief on his face was instant. His eyes fluttered shut for a second, his chest expanding as he took a deep breath. I signed the paper. "Pack your things," he said, taking the paper back. "We leave now." "Now?" "But my apartment, my clothes. My driver will handle your apartment. You can buy new clothes." He walked to the coat rack and grabbed a long black coat. He put it on, buttoning it all the way up to his chin, even though it was warm in the room now. "Come. The sun will be up soon. I need to be inside before the sun comes up." "Why?" I asked, following him to the door. "Do you have an allergy?" He stopped with his hand on the door handle. He looked back at me over his shoulder. "Something like that." The ride to his penthouse was silent. The car was a massive black SUV with tinted windows so dark I couldn't see the streets of Seoul passing by. Kang Min-Ho sat on the opposite side of the back seat, as far away from me as possible. He had his eyes closed, his head leaning against the cool glass of the window. I watched him. Now that the adrenaline was fading, reality was setting in. I had just signed my life away to a stranger. A billionaire stranger who claimed he needed me as a human air conditioner. "Stop thinking so loud," he murmured, not opening his eyes. "I didn't say anything," I whispered. "You didn't have to. I can hear your heart beating. It's annoying." "Sorry for being alive," I snapped back before I could stop myself. One eye opened. He looked at me surprised. Then, the corner of his mouth twitched up. "You have a sharp tongue. Good. You'll need it." "Why will I need it?" "Because my family is difficult. And my enemies are worse." "Enemies?" I choked out. "You didn't say anything about enemies in the contract." "Read the fine print next time," he said, closing his eyes again. The car pulled into an underground garage that looked cleaner than a hospital. We took a private elevator straight up. The numbers on the display climbed higher and higher. 40, 50, 60. The doors opened, and I gasped. The penthouse was incredible. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the entire city of Seoul. The Han River was a ribbon of darkness below, reflecting the city lights. But the apartment itself was stark. Everything was black, gray, or chrome. No pictures. No plants. No color. And it was cold. Freezing cold. "Your room is down that hall, second door on the left," Min-Ho said, tossing his coat onto a couch. He loosened his tie, looking like he was about to collapse. "Stay there until morning. Don't come out. Don't explore." "Wait," I said, standing in the middle of the massive living room. "That's it? You bring me here and just send me to bed?" He turned to face me. He looked worse than before. His skin was flushing red, and beads of sweat were forming on his forehead. He was shaking. "I am trying," he gritted out through clenched teeth, "to be a gentleman. But my control is slipping." "Control of what?" I stepped closer, concerned. He looked like he was having a seizure. "Sir, do you need a doctor?" "I can call." "No doctors," he roared. The sound echoed off the glass walls. I flinched back. He stumbled, grabbing the back of the sofa to steady himself. I need to stabilize. Just stay away." He was lying. He was telling me to stay away, but his body was leaning toward me. His eyes were locked on my neck. I didn't leave. I don't know why. Maybe it was the nurse in me, or maybe it was that strange pull again. I walked up to him. "You're burning up," I said softly. I reached out and placed my hand on his forehead. The moment my skin touched his knees buckled. He collapsed forward, his heavy weight crashing into me. I caught him, barely, my arms wrapping around his waist to hold him up. We fell onto the sofa together, him on top of me. "Diana," he groaned, his face buried in the crook of my neck. His body was like a furnace. It should have been painful. It should have burned my skin. But it didn't. As he pressed against me, I felt a strange, cool energy rising from my core. It flowed out of me into him. He inhaled sharply against my skin, his hands gripping my waist, pulling me closer. It was intimate. Too intimate. I could feel every hard line of his chest against mine. I could feel his breath, hot and ragged, on my throat. "Please," he whispered, his voice broken and desperate. "Don't push me away. Just 5 minutes. I just need 5 minutes." My hands hesitated, hovering over his back. Then, slowly, I lowered them, pressing my palms against his burning shirt. I held him. "Okay," I whispered into the silence of the empty penthouse. 5 minutes. But as he relaxed into me, draining the coolness from my body, I realized something terrifying. I didn't want him to stop. I woke up in a bed that cost more than my mother's house. The sheets were silk, cool against my skin. The room was bathed in the soft, gray light of dawn filtering through the massive floor-to-ceiling windows. I sat up, confused. The last thing I remembered was the living room. The sofa. Min-Ho burning up in my arms. I looked down at myself. I was still in my interview clothes, but my shoes had been removed and placed neatly by the door. You're awake. I jumped. An older woman stood in the doorway. She wore a severe black uniform and held a tray. Her face was impassive, like a stone statue. I am Mrs. Park. The housekeeper, she said, walking in and setting the tray on the nightstand. It held a pot of tea and a bowl of steaming porridge. Mr. Kang has already left for the office. He requested you eat, then meet the stylist at noon. Stylist? I rubbed my temples. Wait, where is he? Is he okay? Last night he was. Mr. Kang is fine, she interrupted, her tone clipping at the end of my sentence. He is a busy man. He does not require a babysitter during the day. Only at night. She gave me a look. It wasn't judgmental, exactly. It was a pity. Eat, she commanded, then turned and marched out. I didn't eat. I walked to the window. 50 floors up. Seoul looked like a toy city from here. I touched the glass. It was cold. I thought about last night. The heat coming off him. The way his body had trembled against mine. It hadn't felt sexual, not at first. It felt like survival. But then, when his breathing slowed, when he stopped shaking, he had nuzzled into my neck. He had sighed my name. My skin tingled at the memory. I walked into the ensuite bathroom. It was all black marble and gold fixtures. I turned on the faucet to splash water on my face. As the water hit my hands, I froze. The water didn't splash. It wrapped. It curled around my fingers like a liquid glove, shimmering and swirling in a way that defied gravity for a split second before falling back into the sink. I stared at the drain. You're tired, Diana, I whispered to my reflection. You're just tired and stressed. But when I looked in the mirror, I didn't look tired. My skin, usually dry from the harsh Korean winter, looked radiant. My eyes, usually dark brown, seemed to have a fleck of gold in them. I felt charged, like I had drunk 10 espressos. Whatever Min-Ho had done to me, whatever energy he had taken, it felt like he had given something back. The stylist arrived at noon. A small, energetic man named Leo who didn't speak a word of English, but threw clothes at me for 3 hours. By 6 p.m., my closet was full of clothes I would never have dared to buy. Sleek, dark, expensive. By 8 p.m., the sun went down. And by 8:05 p.m., the elevator chimed. The air in the penthouse changed instantly. It got heavier. The temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Min-Ho walked in. He looked impeccable. Sharp navy suit, hair perfectly styled, face unreadable. But I saw it. The slight tremor in his hand as he loosened his tie. The way his eyes darted to me immediately, dark and hungry. How was your day? He asked, his voice tight. Expensive, I said, standing by the kitchen island. Min-Ho, about last night. We don't talk about it, he said, walking straight to the liquor cabinet. He poured a glass of amber liquid but didn't drink it. He just gripped the glass until his knuckles turned white. It's a transaction, Diana. I pay you. You provide stability. That's it. It didn't feel like a transaction, I said quietly. He slammed the glass down. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Do not mistake my weakness for affection, he snarled, turning to face me. His eyes were glowing again. That faint, dangerous red. I am a predator, Diana. You are a resource. If you start thinking we are playing house, you will get hurt. I should have been scared. He was threatening me. But all I could feel was the wave of heat rolling off him across the room. He was starving. You're shaking, I said. I'm fine, he lied. You're not. I walked around the island. You can barely stand. Stay back. He held up a hand. I need to. I need to wait until it's unbearable. If I feed too early, I become dependent. Feed? I stopped. Is that what we're calling it? He laughed bitterly. What would you call it? Cuddling. He winced, doubling over slightly, clutching his chest. A visible ripple of heat distorted the air around him. The ice in his glass melted instantly. Okay, that's enough, I said. I closed the distance between us. No, don't. I grabbed his hand. The reaction was violent. He gasped, his head snapping back. He tried to pull away, but then his instincts took over. He yanked me forward, crashing his chest against mine. His other hand came up to cup the back of my neck, his fingers tangling in my braids. He bowed his head, resting his forehead against mine. "Diana," he breathed, the aggression gone, replaced by pure, unadulterated need. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Just breathe," I whispered. My hands found their way to his waist, slipping under his suit jacket. He was burning up, a furnace of supernatural energy. And there it was again. That rush. As his pain subsided, power flooded into me. It started in my chest and rolled down to my toes. It felt like standing in a waterfall. Cool, powerful, endless. He groaned, a low sound in his throat that made my knees weak. He moved closer, his hips pressing into mine. The transaction line was blurring fast. This wasn't just him taking from me. We were cycling energy between us. A loop. Fire and water. He tilted his head, his nose brushing against my ear. "You smell like rain," he murmured, his voice thick with intoxication. "Why do you always smell like rain?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. I was too busy trying not to melt into the floor. He held me like that for an hour. Just standing in the kitchen, him feeding on my presence, me feeding on whatever he was. When he finally pulled away, he looked human again. The red in his eyes was gone. He looked at me, and for a second, I saw confusion. He looked at his hands, then at me. "You're not drained," he said. It wasn't a question. "No," I said, checking my own hands. "I feel good." He narrowed his eyes. The last assistant, she fainted after 10 minutes. She quit the next day because she was so anemic she couldn't walk. "I'm made of stronger stuff," I said, trying to keep my voice light. He didn't smile. He walked over to me, invading my personal space again. He reached out and touched my cheek. His fingers were cool now. "Who are your parents, Diana?" "My mom is a nurse in Lagos," I said. "My dad, I never knew him. He died before I was born." "And your grandmother?" "She sold herbs in the market." "Why?" He studied my face, looking for something I didn't understand. "Because normal humans don't act like batteries, Diana. They act like fuel. You're not fuel." "Then what am I?" "I don't know," he whispered. "But I intend to find out." 3 weeks passed. We fell into a routine. A strange, dangerous, domestic routine. During the day, I studied for my medical exams in the library. Min-Ho went to KM Corp and did whatever ruthless billionaire things he did. At night, he came home. We ate dinner in silence. And then, we sat on the couch. Sometimes we watched TV. Sometimes he read files while I studied. But always, we were touching. His hand on my ankle. My head on his shoulder. His arm draped along the back of the sofa, fingers brushing my arm. It was maddening. The tension in the penthouse was thick enough to choke on. Every touch sent electricity through me. I caught him watching me when he thought I wasn't looking. His gaze wasn't just hungry anymore. It was possessive. And I was changing. I woke up one morning and found the dead orchid on the coffee table in full bloom. Not just blooming, it had grown 3 feet overnight, vines trailing down to the floor. I was in the shower, and the water pressure seemed to obey my mood. When I was angry, it pounded. When I was calm, it misted. I didn't tell him. I was afraid if I told him, he would send me to a lab instead of his bed. Then came the invitation. It was a Tuesday. I was in the kitchen, trying to figure out how to use the espresso machine, when Min-Ho walked in. He tossed a heavy, cream-colored envelope onto the counter. "Get dressed," he said. "We're going out." I opened the envelope. Gold embossed letters. The 50th Annual Harvest Gala. "A party?" I asked. "I thought you didn't do parties." "I don't," he said, fixing his cuffs. "But my uncle is in town. And if I don't show my face, he will start asking questions about my health. He thinks I'm dying, Diana. He's waiting for me to slip so he can take the company. And you want me to come? Why? Because he looked at me, his expression grim. The gala is crowded. Noisy. Hot. It triggers hunger faster. I can't last 2 hours in there alone. I need you next to me. So I'm your support dog, I deadpanned. You are my date, he corrected. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. He slid it across the counter. I opened it. Inside was a necklace. A single, massive blue sapphire shaped like a teardrop, suspended on a silver chain. Wear it, he said. It matches your eyes. My eyes are brown, Min-Ho. He looked at me, a strange smile playing on his lips. Are they? I ran to the mirror in the hallway. I leaned in close. My breath hitched. My eyes were still brown. But around the iris, there was a thin, glowing ring of deep ocean blue. What is happening to me? I whispered. I don't know, Min-Ho's voice came from right behind me. I hadn't heard him move. I watched his reflection in the mirror as he placed his hands on my shoulders. But tonight, stay close to me. My uncle isn't the only thing we have to worry about. What else is there? Other predators, he said darkly. If they smell what you are, they will want to taste too. The dress Leo selected was a weapon. That was the only way to describe it. It was midnight blue velvet, hugging every curve of my body like a second skin before pooling at my feet. It was backless, plunging dangerously low, held together by thin silver chains that felt cold against my spine. When I walked into the living room, Min-Ho stopped pouring his drink. He didn't say a word. He just froze, the crystal decanter hovering over the glass. His eyes traveled from the hem of the dress up to my face, dark and unreadable. Is it too much? I asked, fidgeting with the sapphire necklace. I feel naked. He set the decanter down slowly. You look dangerous. He walked over to me, stopping just inches away. He didn't touch me, but I could feel the heat radiating off him, rolling in waves like a radiator in winter. He reached out, his fingers hovering over the bare skin of my shoulder. Stay close to me tonight, he said, his voice dropping an octave. And I mean close. If you wander off, I can't guarantee who or what will try to claim you. You make this party sound like a war zone, I whispered, my breath hitching as his thumb grazed my collarbone. For people like us, he murmured, his eyes locking onto mine, it is. The venue was the Grand Hyatt Seoul. The driveway was a sea of black luxury sedans and flashing cameras. When our car pulled up, the noise was deafening. Ready? Min-Ho asked. He looked calm, icy even. But he was gripping the door handle so hard the leather was creaking. No, I admitted. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. The valet opened the door. The cold night air hit me, followed instantly by the blinding strobe of flashbulbs. Mr. Kang. Over here. Who is she? Is that the new heiress? Min-Ho. Is it true the merger is failing? He stepped out first, buttoning his jacket. Then he turned and offered me his hand. As soon as our skin connected, the circuit closed. Whoosh! The anxiety in my chest vanished, replaced by that cool, rushing power. And Min-Ho, he straightened up. The tension in his jaw relaxed. He pulled me out of the car and tucked my hand firmly into the crook of his arm. Don't let go, he whispered against my ear as we walked the red carpet. Not for a second. We moved through the crowd like a single entity. He was the shield, cold and imposing. I was the anchor, keeping him from burning up. Inside, the ballroom was suffocating. It smelled of expensive perfume, champagne, and something else, something musky and wild. Musk, I whispered, wrinkling my nose. Can you smell that? Min-Ho stiffened. I smell it. Ignore it. What is it? Competition. We navigated the room. Min-Ho was polite but brief with everyone who approached. He introduced me simply as Diana, leaving them to wonder if I was a business partner, a girlfriend, or something else. I could feel the eyes on us. Judging. Calculating. Well, well. The prodigal nephew returns. The voice was like gravel grinding on glass. We stopped. A man blocked our path. He was older than Min-Ho, maybe in his 50s, with silver hair and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He held a cane, but he didn't lean on it. He looked strong. Too strong for his age. Uncle, Min-Ho said. The temperature around us dropped. I felt Min-Ho's arm tighten against my fingers, squeezing painfully. He was drawing more energy from me. Fast. I heard you were sick, the uncle said, stepping closer. He sniffed the air, his gaze sliding over Min-Ho to land on me. But you look energized. Surprisingly so. I'm feeling much better, Min-Ho lied smoothly. The uncle stepped closer to me. He leaned in, invading my personal space. And who is this lovely creature? I don't recall seeing her on the guest list. This is Diana, Min-Ho said, stepping slightly in front of me. A protective move. She's with me. The uncle chuckled. With you? Or for you? He looked at me, his eyes narrowing. You have a very unique scent, my dear. Like ozone. And salt. My heart was hammered. He could smell it too? Excuse us, Min-Ho said abruptly. We need drinks. He pulled me away, dragging me through the crowd until we reached a quiet corner near the terrace doors. He was shaking again. He knows, Min-Ho hissed, turning his back to the room to hide his face. He grabbed a glass of champagne from a passing waiter and downed it in one gulp. He sensed the energy transfer. That was your uncle? I asked, rubbing my arm where he had squeezed me. He looked at me like I was having lunch. He's not just my uncle, Min-Ho said, leaning his forehead against the cool glass of the terrace door. He's a tiger spirit. An apex predator. And right now, he thinks you're the power source he's been looking for. Tiger spirit? I stared at him. You mean like a literal tiger? In spirit energy, yes. He is territorial. Aggressive. And hungry. Min-Ho looked at me, his eyes pleading. I need more, Diana. The crowd, the noise. It's draining me too fast. I'm losing the glamour. The glamour. The illusion, he gasped, clutching his chest. If I lose control here, everyone will see what I really am. I'll burn this whole hotel down. I looked around. People were watching us. We couldn't leave yet. It would look weak. Dance with me, I said. Min-Ho blinked. What? The music, I said, nodding toward the orchestra. They were playing a slow waltz. If we dance, we can be close. You can hold me. You can take what you need without it looking suspicious. He hesitated, then nodded. Smart. He led me to the dance floor. He placed one hand on my waist, the other gripping my hand. He pulled me in tight, chest to chest, thigh to thigh. Relax, I whispered, feeling his body vibrating with suppressed energy. Just follow me. We moved. It was electric. Every time our bodies brushed, sparks flew. Not metaphorical sparks. I swear I saw actual static electricity jumping between our clothes. He buried his face in my hair, inhaling deeply. God, Diana, you feel incredible. It's like ice water. It's silencing the fire. Just take it, I whispered, my hands sliding up his back to grip his shoulders. Take what you need. I closed my eyes, letting the music wash over me. And then I felt it again. That strange power in me rising up to meet him. It wasn't just passive anymore. I was pushing the energy into him. I wanted to heal him. I wanted to take his pain away. The room faded. The people faded. It was just us, spinning in the dark, a cyclone of fire and water. May I cut in? The voice broke the spell like a sledgehammer. We stopped. Min-Ho's head snapped up. His eyes flashed red, visibly red this time. A man was standing there. Not the uncle. A younger man. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with bleached blonde hair and a smirk that screamed trouble. Director Choi Min-Ho growled. No, you may not. Come on, Kang, the man laughed. He looked at me, his eyes dilating. Don't be greedy. You've been hugging the mystery girl all night. I just want one dance. He reached for my hand. Don't touch her, Min-Ho warned, his voice low and guttural. Director Choi ignored him. His fingers brushed my wrist. Zap. A shock of static, sharp and painful, snapped between us. Choi jerked his hand back, hissing. He looked at his fingertips. They were red, as if burned. He looked up at me, his playful smirk vanishing. It was replaced by shock. You, Choi whispered. You're not human. Min-Ho stepped in front of me, shielding me completely. Walk away, Choi. Now. You brought a Class A entity into the gala? Choi whispered, his voice rising in excitement. Does the council know? Does your uncle know? I said walk away. Min-Ho shoved him. It wasn't a hard shove. But Choi flew backward as if he'd been hit by a truck. He crashed into a waiter carrying a tray of champagne. Crash. Glass shattered. Drinks went flying. The music stopped. The entire ballroom went silent. Every eye turned to us. Min-Ho stood there, his chest heaving. His hands were clenched into fists at his sides. And I saw it, smoke was rising from his sleeves. His suit jacket was starting to singe. He was losing it. Min-Ho, I whispered, grabbing his arm. It was scalding hot. We have to go. Now. He provoked me, Min-Ho snarled, his eyes fixed on Choi, who was laughing on the floor. Min-Ho, look at your hands. He looked down. His fingertips were glowing like molten lava. Run, he whispered to me. Diana, get away from me. No. I'm going to blow, he panicked. I can't hold it back. I said no. I did the only thing I could think of. I stepped in front of him, blocking him from the crowd. I grabbed his face with both hands and smashed my lips onto his. The room gasped. I didn't care. I poured everything I had into him. Every drop of coolness, every drop of calm, every drop of the ocean that I didn't even know I carried. Please, I begged silently. Cool down. For me. Please. His lips were searing hot, tasting of ash and desire. He froze for a second, then his arms wrapped around me, crushing me against him. He drank from me, desperate and wild. And then, the heat broke. The smoke stopped. The red glow in his eyes faded back to black. He sagged against me, breathless. I pulled back, gasping for air. My lips felt swollen. My heart was racing so fast I thought it would explode. The room was still silent. Then, Choi stood up, brushing glass off his suit. He looked at us, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and awe. Well, Choi announced to the silent room, wiping a spot of blood from his lip. I guess the rumors are true. Kang Min-Ho has found a mate. Min-Ho glared at him, breathless, his arms still locked around my waist like a vice. Let's go, he rasped to me. We turned and walked out. Nobody tried to stop us. But as we reached the double doors, I looked back. Min-Ho's uncle was standing on the balcony, watching us. He wasn't smiling anymore. He was typing something on his phone. And I knew, with a sinking feeling in my gut, that our secret was out. The hunt had begun. The silence in the car was heavier than the silence in the ballroom. Min-Ho refused to look at me. He was staring out the window, his jaw clenched so hard I thought his teeth might shatter. His hand, the one that had been glowing like lava just minutes ago, was resting on his thigh, clenched into a tight fist. I could see the damage. The expensive fabric of his suit trousers was scorched where his hand touched. Smoke was still faintly rising from his skin. Min-Ho, I whispered. Don't, he cut me off. His voice was raw. Don't speak. Not until we are behind the wards. Wards. Security, he corrected, but it felt like a lie. The driver was driving like a madman, weaving through the late-night Seoul traffic at speeds that should have been illegal. We didn't go back to the penthouse. We turned off the highway, heading toward the mountains that bordered the city. Where are we going? I asked, panic starting to flutter in my chest. This isn't the way home. The penthouse is compromised, Min-Ho said. My uncle knows you're there. If Choi saw what you did, they all saw. He finally turned to look at me. The red in his eyes had faded to a dull, bruised maroon. He looked devastated. You shouldn't have done that, Diana. Saved you. I shot back. You were about to explode. You said it yourself. I would have contained it, he lied. But now they know. You showed them exactly what you are. I don't even know what I am. I shouted, frustration boiling over. Everyone keeps looking at me like I'm a battery or a monster, but nobody will tell me the truth. What happened back there? Why did the lights flicker? Why did Choi get burned when he touched me? Because you are a conduit, he said quietly. And I am a curse. The car swerved onto a gravel road. We were deep in the forest now. Huge pine trees blocked out the moon. We pulled up to a gate that looked like it belonged to a military base. It scanned the car, scanned Min-Ho's eyes through the window, and opened silently. Inside was a glass house. It wasn't a house, it was a fortress of glass and steel hidden among the trees. Get out, Min-Ho said as the car stopped. I scrambled out. The air here was cleaner, colder. I took a deep breath and instantly I felt better. The city's smog always made me feel suffocated, but here, the trees, the damp earth. It felt like breathing pure energy. Min-Ho stumbled as he got out. I rushed to help him, but he flinched away. Don't touch me, he barked. I froze, hurt. Why? Because I want to drain you dry, he admitted, his voice trembling. He leaned against the car, breathing hard. That kiss. Diana, that wasn't a sip. That was a flood. You gave me so much energy, I feel like I'm vibrating. If you touch me now, I won't be able to stop. I will kill you. I took a step back. The look in his eyes wasn't just hunger anymore. It was an addiction. Go inside, he ordered. Room on the right. Lock the door. Do not open it until morning. What about you? I need to burn this off. He turned and walked into the dark forest. I watched him go. I should have listened. I should have gone inside, locked the door, and called the embassy to get me a flight home. But I couldn't. I waited until he disappeared into the shadows, then I followed him. I found him in a clearing about 100 yards away. He had stripped off his ruined suit jacket and shirt. His back was to me. I gasped. His back was a map of scars. Intricate, swirling patterns that looked like they had been branded into his skin. And they were glowing. Bright, angry orange lines pulsing with the rhythm of his heart. He threw his head back and let out a roar that shook the trees. Whoosh! Fire erupted from his body. It wasn't a normal fire. It was blue. It exploded outward in a ring, scorching the earth in a perfect circle around him. The heat hit me even from where I was hiding behind a tree. It was intense, terrifying. He felt his knees, punching the ground. The earth sizzled. Why? He screamed at the sky. Why her? I covered my mouth to keep from crying out. He sounded so lonely. So incredibly broken. He stayed there for an hour, letting the blue flames lick across his skin, burning off the excess energy I had given him. I watched, mesmerized. He wasn't a monster. He was a vessel. A container for too much power. When the flames finally died down, he collapsed onto the charred grass. I ran to him then. I didn't care about his warnings. Min-Ho. He rolled over, groaning. His skin was covered in soot, sweat streaking through it. He looked up at me, his eyes wide. I told you, to stay inside, he rasped. You talk too much, I said, kneeling beside him. I took off my velvet shawl and tried to wipe the soot from his face. He didn't pull away this time. He was too weak. He just looked at me, his gaze tracing my features. You're crying, he whispered. He reached up, his thumb brushing a tear from my cheek. Don't cry for me, Diana. I'm not worth it. You're an idiot, I sniffed. You're sitting in a crater you made with your bare hands, and you're worried about my mascara? He let out a weak chuckle. It is good mascara. Min-Ho, I said, my voice serious. Talk to me. Please. No more riddles. He sighed, closing his eyes. My family, we aren't human. We are Huan, descendants of the fire spirit. For centuries, we have ruled the corporate world because we have drive, energy, ambition that humans can't match. But there is a price. The heat, I guessed. The burn, he corrected. Our bodies produce more energy than we can contain. If we don't discharge it, we burn from the inside out. Usually we use grounding partners. Humans with low energy fields who can absorb a little bit of the heat. But they burn out fast. They get sick. They die. And me? He opened his eyes. You're different. You don't absorb the heat. You quench it. When I touch you, it's not just relief. It's balanced. You have water in your soul, Diana. Ancient water. My grandmother, I whispered. She was a priestess of Olakan, the owner of the oceans. Min-Ho nodded slowly. That explains it. Fire and water. We are natural enemies. That is why the council forbids it. The council, the governing body of the spirit families. The tiger clan, the fox clan, the bear clan. They keep the balance. A union between a Huan and a Siren. It's forbidden. It creates too much power. It upsets the hierarchy. So that's why your uncle looked at me like that, I realized. He's afraid. He's terrified, Min-Ho said. He sat up, wincing. He thinks I will use you to become the king of the spirits. To overthrow the council. Do you want to? Min-Ho looked at me. The intensity in his eyes stole the breath from my lungs. I don't care about the council, he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. I don't care about the company. I don't care about being king. He leaned in closer. His hand moved to the back of my neck, his fingers tangling in my hair again. All I want, he murmured, is to not be in pain. And when I am with you, for the first time in my life, I am free. My heart did a somersault. So what do we do? I asked. We survive, he said. Come. It's freezing out here. He tried to stand but stumbled. I caught him. He leaned his weight on me, and we walked back to the glass house together. Inside, there was only one bedroom made up. I'll take the couch, I offered quickly. No, Min-Ho said. He locked the heavy front door and engaged a security system that required a retina scan and a voice code. You stay with me. If my uncle sends a shade, a shadow assassin, I need you within arm's reach. A shadow assassin? I squeaked. Are you joking? I wish I were. The bed was massive, covered in gray duvet. Min-Ho went into the bathroom and washed the soot off. When he came out, he was wearing loose sweatpants and nothing else. The scars on his torso were faint silver lines now, beautiful in a tragic way. I went in and changed into one of his large t-shirts I found in a drawer. It smelled like cedar and him. When I came out, he was already in bed, lying on his back, staring at the ceiling. Lights off, he commanded. The room went pitch black. I climbed in on the other side, leaving a solid 2 feet of space between us. I lay stiff as a board, staring into the dark. Diana, his voice came from the darkness. Yes. Come closer. You said you might kill me. I burned off the excess. I'm empty now. I'm cold. I hesitated, then scooted a few inches closer. Closer. I scooted again. Closer. I felt his arm reach out and wrap around my waist. He pulled me flush against his side. His skin was cool now, almost chilly. He buried his face in my hair, inhaling sharply. Better, he sighed. I lay there, my cheek pressed against his bare chest. I could hear his heartbeat. Thump thump. Thump thump. It was slow, steady. Min-Ho? Choi said. He said I was your mate. His arm tightened around me. The silence stretched for a long time. Choi talks too much, he muttered finally. Is it true? He shifted, lifting his head slightly to look at me in the dark. I couldn't see his face, but I could feel his breath on my forehead. Among my kind, he whispered, we don't marry for love. We pair for survival. A mate is someone whose energy frequency matches yours perfectly. It happens once in 1,000 years. So, I'm your battery pack, I said, trying to joke to hide the fact that my heart was breaking slightly. No, he said fiercely. A battery runs out. A mate is half of the soul. He brushed a kiss against my forehead. It was chaste, gentle, but it burned more than the fire had. Sleep, Diana. Tomorrow, war begins. I didn't think I would sleep, but I did. I slept deeper than I ever had. I woke up to the sound of breaking glass. My eyes snapped open. The room was flooded with sunlight. Min-Ho was gone. Min-Ho? Crash. Another sound from the living room. I jumped out of bed and ran into the hallway. Min-Ho was standing in the middle of the living room. He was fully dressed in a tactical black turtleneck and cargo pants. He held a phone to his ear, and his expression was murderous. On the floor lay the shattered remains of a glass vase. "I don't care," he shouted into the phone. "You touch one hair on her head, and I will burn the entire boardroom to the ground. Do you understand me?" He listened for a second, then hurled the phone across the room. It smashed into the wall, cracking the screen. He turned and saw me. His face softened instantly, but the panic in his eyes remained. "Get dressed," he said. "We have to leave." "What happened?" I asked, stepping over the broken vase. "Who is that?" "My uncle," he said. "He froze my assets. All of them. The company accounts, my personal accounts, my credit cards. Everything." "Okay," I said, trying to stay calm. "So we're broke." "We can handle broke. I've been broke my whole life." "It's not just the money, Diana," he said, walking over to me and grabbing my shoulders. "He put a bounty on you." My blood ran cold. "A bounty?" 10 billion won, he said grimly. "Alive or dead?" "He told the underworld that you are a rogue spirit threatening the stability of the clans. Every mercenary, every hunter, every low-level demon in Seoul is going to be looking for you." "Oh my God." I covered my mouth. "I have to get you out of the country," he said. "I have a private jet at a small airfield in Incheon. It's off the books. I can get you to Lagos by tonight." "No," I said. He blinked. "What?" I said no. "I'm not leaving. Diana, this isn't a negotiation. People are coming to kill you." "And what happens to you if I leave?" I asked, stepping closer to him. "You said I'm the cure. You said without me you burn." He looked away. "I will manage." "You won't," I said. "You'll explode. Or your uncle will kill you because you're weak without me." "It is better that I die than you," he said, his voice breaking. "Well, I disagree." I grabbed his face, forcing him to look at me. "I am not running away, Kang Min-Ho. You saved me from poverty. I am going to save you from this. We are partners, right? Mates?" He stared at me. The conflict in his eyes was a war zone. Fear for me, desire for me, pride, anger. "You have no idea what you are saying," he whispered. "If you stay, there is no going back. You become part of this world. The danger never stops." "I'm a Lagos girl," I said, lifting my chin. "I eat danger for breakfast. Let them come." A slow, reluctant smile spread across his face. It was the first real smile I had ever seen on him. It transformed him from a brooding statue into something breathtakingly human. "You are insane," he murmured. "I know." "Okay," he nodded. "If we stay, we fight. But we can't do it alone. We need allies." "Who?" "There is one person who hates my uncle as much as I do," Min-Ho said. "But she is dangerous. She is the matriarch of the Fox clan." "The Gumiho?" I asked, remembering the Korean legends. "The nine-tailed foxes who eat livers?" "She doesn't eat livers anymore," Min-Ho said, walking to a hidden panel in the wall and pulling out a duffel bag filled with cash and guns. "No, not guns. Strange silver batons. She prefers hearts. But she owes me a favor." He tossed me a black jacket. "Put this on. We're going to Itaewon." The drive to Itaewon was tense. Min-Ho drove a different car this time, a beat-up sedan that looked like it belonged in a scrapyard. "Camouflage," he explained. Itaewon was a foreign district. It was loud, chaotic, and colorful. Min-Ho parked in an alleyway behind a neon-lit club called the Red Lantern. "Stay behind me," he warned. "Don't look anyone in the eye. And whatever you do, don't accept any food or drink." We walked down a set of stairs into the club. It was daytime, but inside it was eternal night. The music was a low, thumping bass that vibrated in my teeth. The air smelled of jasmine and copper. The club was empty, except for a woman sitting at a booth in the back. She was stunning. Long white hair, red lips, and a dress that looked like it was made of liquid gold. She was smoking a long, thin pipe. "Min-Ho," she purred as we approached. Her voice sounded like silk sliding over a knife. I heard you were broke. And hunted. Hello, Yuna, Min-Ho said, keeping a respectful distance. Yuna's eyes, slit-pupilled and yellow, slid to me. She smiled, revealing sharp canines. And you brought a snack. She is not a snack, Min-Ho growled, stepping in front of me. She is my partner. Yuna laughed. She stood up and walked around us, circling like a shark. She sniffed the air near my neck. Water, she mused. Deep, dark water. Salt water. You aren't from around here, little fish. I'm from Nigeria, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Nigeria. Yuna paused. She looked at Min-Ho. You bonded with the Mommy Wada? Are you trying to start a war with the Ocean King too? We need sanctuary, Yuna, Min-Ho said. Just for tonight. Until I can access my offshore accounts. Sanctuary isn't free, Yuna said, sitting back down and crossing her legs. Especially when the Tiger King has put a price on your head. If I hide you, I risk my own territory. What do you want? Min-Ho asked. Yuna smiled. I want her. Min-Ho's hands ignited. Blue flames flickered at his fingertips. Over my dead body. Relax, Fireboy. Yuna rolled her eyes. I don't want to eat her. I want a drop of her blood. Why? I asked. Because, Yuna looked at me with genuine curiosity. I want to taste what it's like to be immortal. And, looking at you, you are teeming with life. One drop of your blood could probably keep me young for another century. Min-Ho opened his mouth to refuse, but I stepped forward. One drop. I asked. That's it? Diana, no, Min-Ho warned. Do not make deals with foxes. If I give you a drop, I said to Yuna, ignoring him, you give us sanctuary. And you help us get into the KM Corp server room tonight. Yuna's eyebrows shot up. The server room? You want to hack the mainframe? I want to unfreeze his assets, I said. Can you get us in? Yuna grinned. It was a terrifying sight. I like her. She has guts. She pulled a small silver needle from her hair. Deal. I held out my hand. Min-Ho looked like he wanted to scream, but he didn't stop me. He knew we had no choice. Yuna pricked my finger. A single drop of dark red blood welled up. She swiped it onto her finger and brought it to her lips. As soon as the blood touched her tongue, Yuna's eyes widened. She gasped, grabbing the table. Her skin glowed with a faint iridescent light. Oh, she moaned, looking at me with awe. That is vintage. She stood up, looking energized, younger somehow. The deal is struck, she announced. Welcome to the Fox Den, make yourselves at home. Tonight, we will break into a skyscraper. She walked away toward the bar. Min-Ho grabbed my hand, pulling me close. He looked furious. You shouldn't have done that, he hissed. I saved us, I whispered. You gave her a taste, he said, looking at my bleeding finger. He lifted my hand to his mouth. I thought he was going to kiss it, but he stopped, hovering just above the wound. His eyes flashed red. Min-Ho? He was struggling. The scent of my blood was driving him crazy. I need to close the wound, he choked out. He pressed his lips to my finger. It wasn't a kiss. It was a seal. I felt a flash of heat, and then he pulled away. The cut was gone. Healed instantly. He looked at me, his eyes dark with a mix of hunger and adoration. Tonight, he said, we get my company back. And then I am going to kill my uncle. The plan was simple. Insane, but simple. Yuna would create a distraction at the front entrance of KM Tower. Min-Ho and I would enter through the underground maintenance tunnels, bypass the security grid using his biometric overrides, which Yuna's hackers had temporarily spoofed, get to the 50th floor, and physically plug a drive into the mainframe to reset the system. Simple, I muttered, adjusting the tactical vest Min-Ho had strapped onto me. Just a casual Friday night heist. Are you scared? Min-Ho asked. We were sitting in a black van Yuna had provided, parked 2 blocks from the tower. It was raining hard, the neon lights of Seoul reflecting in the puddles like spilled oil. Yes, I said. But mostly I'm hungry. We haven't eaten since yesterday. Min-Ho reached into a bag and pulled out a protein bar. He unwrapped it and handed it to me. Eat. You'll need the sugar. I took a bite. It tasted like cardboard and sawdust. If we die tonight, I'm going to be really mad that my last meal was chocolate-flavored chalk. He cracked a smile. He looked tired, but focused. The tension from earlier had settled into a cold, hard resolve. He checked his watch. It's time. Yuna is in position. As if on cue, a massive explosion rocked the street. Boom. I jumped, dropping the protein bar. What the hell was that? I thought she was creating a distraction, not a war. Foxes like drama, Min-Ho said, opening the van door. Let's go. We ran through the rain, slipping into the alleyway that led to the maintenance entrance. Min-Ho placed his hand on the scanner. Access denied. Damn it, he hissed. My uncle must have updated the biosignature protocols. So we're stuck. No. He looked at me. We burn it. He placed his palm flat against the steel door. He closed his eyes. I felt the heat rise instantly. The rain around us turned to steam. His hand started to glow white-hot. Sizzle. The steel began to melt. It turned orange, then red, then dripped like wax. He pushed, and the lock disintegrated. We slipped inside. The tunnels were dark and smelled of damp concrete. We ran, our footsteps echoing. Min-Ho knew the way by heart. We reached the service elevator. He pried the doors open with his bare hands, using strength that definitely wasn't human, and we climbed the ladder inside the shaft. 50 floors. By floor 20, my arms were burning. By floor 30, I couldn't breathe. I gasped, stopping on a rung. Min-Ho, I can't. He was above me. He looked down, his eyes glowing in the dark shaft. He reached down and grabbed my wrist. Don't climb, he said. Hold on. He pulled me up. He didn't just help me, he lifted me. He climbed one-handed, carrying my entire weight with his other arm like I was a feather. The heat from his body kept the cold draft of the shaft away. We reached floor 50. He forced the doors open, and we tumbled into the hallway. It was quiet. Too quiet. This is the executive floor, Min-Ho whispered. The server room is at the end of the hall. We crept forward. The carpet swallowed our footsteps. The office was empty, just rows of dark cubicles. We reached the server room. Min-Ho swiped a keycard Yuna had given him. Beep. Click. The door opened. We stepped inside. The room was freezing, filled with the hum of massive server banks. Blue lights blinked in the darkness. Okay, Min-Ho said, rushing to the main console. He pulled a flash drive from his pocket. I just need 2 minutes to upload the virus. It will wipe my uncle's admin privileges and reinstate mine. He started typing furiously. I stood by the door, watching the hallway. My heart was in my throat. 1 minute, he muttered. Come on, come on. Then I heard it. The sound of a cane tapping on the floor. Tap, tap, tap. Min-Ho, I whispered. Someone's coming. 30 seconds. The tapping stopped. Hello, nephew. I spun around. Min-Ho's uncle stood in the doorway. But he wasn't alone. Flanking him were 2 massive men in suits. Their eyes were glowing yellow. Tigers. Min-Ho stopped typing. He slowly turned around, shielding the console with his body. Uncle, he said calmly. You're working late. I knew you would come, the uncle said, stepping into the room. You are predictable, Min-Ho. You always think you can fix things with technology. But this. He gestured to the room. This is a spiritual war. He looked at me. And you brought the battery. How thoughtful. Don't touch her, Min-Ho warned. His hands ignited. Blue flames licked up his arms. Or what? The uncle laughed. He dropped his cane. As the cane hit the floor, the uncle began to change. His bones cracked and shifted. His suit tore as muscles expanded. Fur sprouted from his skin. His face elongated into a muzzle. In seconds, a massive, spiritual tiger, semi-transparent and glowing orange, stood in the room. It was huge, its head scraping the ceiling. The two guards shifted too, becoming smaller but equally terrifying tigers. Min-Ho, I whispered, backing up until I hit the servers. What do we do? Finish the upload, Min-Ho shouted. What? I'll hold them off. You finish the upload. He launched himself at the giant tiger. It was chaos. Min-Ho was a blur of blue fire, striking the massive beast with punches that sounded like thunderclaps. The tiger roared, swiping at him with claws that tore through the metal server racks like paper. I scrambled to the console. The screen showed a progress bar. 85%. One of the smaller tigers lunged at me. No, Min-Ho screamed, turning his back on his uncle to intercept it. He caught the tiger in midair, slamming it into the wall. But that left him open. The uncle struck. A massive paw swiped Min-Ho across the back. Min-Ho flew across the room, crashing into the glass partition. He hit the ground and didn't get up. Min-Ho, I screamed. The uncle turned his glowing orange eyes on me. He growled, a low rumble that vibrated in my bones. He took a step toward me. 95%. I looked at the screen. I looked at the tiger. I looked at Min-Ho, bleeding on the floor. I didn't have a weapon. I didn't have a fire. I didn't have claws. But I had water. I remembered what Min-Ho said. You have ancient water in your soul. I closed my eyes. I didn't think so. I just felt. I felt the water in the fire sprinkler system overhead. I felt the water in the pipes in the walls. I felt the humidity in the air. Come to me. I screamed. It wasn't a normal scream. It was a harmonic frequency. A high-pitched, piercing note that shattered every piece of glass in the room. The fire sprinklers exploded. Water didn't just spray down, it rushed to me. It swirled around me like a cyclone, protective and violent. The tiger lunged. I threw my hands forward. The water blasted him. It hit him with the force of a fire hose 10 times. It slammed the massive spirit beast backward, pinning him against the far wall. Upload complete, the computer chirped. Enter. I slammed my hand on the keyboard. The lights in the room turned from blue to red. Alarms started blaring. System reset initiated, a robotic voice announced. Lockdown in progress. The tigers roared in frustration. The system reset meant the magical wards on the building were resetting too. Their spiritual forms flickered. They couldn't maintain the transformation without the building's energy grid supporting them. They shrank back into human forms, naked and shivering. Min-Ho groaned and sat up. He looked at me, standing in the middle of a puddle, drenched, with water dripping from my fingertips like I commanded the rain itself. He smiled. A bloody, broken smile. That's my girl. The police sirens wailed in the distance. Yuna's distraction had brought the cops. We have to go, Min-Ho said, stumbling to his feet. He grabbed his side, wincing. The roof. The chopper is there. We ran. We left his uncle and the guards to deal with the police. We burst onto the rooftop helipad. The wind was howling, rain lashing at our faces. But the chopper wasn't there. Where is it? I yelled over the wind. Min-Ho looked at the empty pad. His face fell. He must have grounded it. We were trapped. 50 floors up. Police coming up the stairs. An angry tiger spirit recovering downstairs. Min-Ho walked to the edge of the roof. He looked down at the street far below. Do you trust me? He asked. I looked at him. Min-Ho, if you say jump, I swear to God. We don't have a choice. He grabbed my hand. His skin was hot again, recharging from the fight. On 3, he said. This is crazy. We'll die. Not if we're together, he said. Fire and water. We create steam. We create lift. You're making that up. Maybe. He grinned, wild and desperate. 1. I hate you. 2. I love you. I screamed. He stopped. He looked at me shocked. 3. He pulled me over the edge. We fell. The wind tore at my clothes. The ground rushed up to meet us. I screamed, closing my eyes, waiting for the impact. But it never came. I felt Min-Ho's arms wrap around me tight. I felt heat explode from him and cold explode from me. Boom. A massive cloud of steam erupted around us. It hit the air like a cushion. We slowed down. We didn't fly, but we didn't fall. We glided, riding a thermal of our own making, spiraling down through the rain like a comet. We crashed into the Han River. The water was freezing. We went under, tangled together. Min-Ho was sinking, his fire made him heavy in the water. I kicked, grabbing him. In the water, I was strong. I was a queen. I pulled him up, dragging him to the surface. We broke the water, gasping for air. We swam to the bank, collapsing on the muddy grass. We lay there for a long time, just breathing, staring up at the rain. Min-Ho turned his head to look at me. "You love me?" I groaned, covering my face with my muddy hands. I thought we were dying. It was a deathbed confession. It doesn't count. He rolled over, hovering above me. He was soaked, shivering, exhausted, and the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. "It counts," he whispered. And then he kissed me. This time, there was no energy transfer. No hunger. No survival. Just him and me. Soft, slow, and real. Wait. Don't click off yet. We have one more scene to wrap this up. Make sure you've subscribed, because part 2 is going to be even crazier. 1 month later. The office was quiet. I sat at the desk, my desk, outside Min-Ho's office. "Miss Diana?" I looked up. A nervous new intern was standing there. Mr. Kang asked for the merger files. "Go on in," I smiled. "But knock first." The intern nodded and scurried to the big double doors. I looked at the ring on my finger. It wasn't a diamond. It was a band of woven gold and platinum, fire and water metals. Min-Ho's uncle was in prison for embezzlement and animal cruelty, which was a funny charge considering he was the animal. The council had backed off for now. They were too afraid to touch the couple that had jumped off a skyscraper and survived. The intercom on my desk buzzed. "Diana." "Yes, Mr. CEO?" My temperature is rising. I rolled my eyes, but I was smiling. "Take a cold shower." "It doesn't work." His voice dropped to that familiar, husky whisper. "Only you work. Come in here." "I'm working, Min-Ho." "I'll give you a raise." "I own half the company." "I'll give you a back rub." I paused. 5 minutes. "Make it 10. I stood up, smoothing my skirt. I walked to the door. I knew this peace wouldn't last forever. The Fox matriarch was still out there, waiting for her favor. The other clans were watching. And somewhere, deep in the ocean, my own ancestors were waking up, wondering why one of their daughters had married a fire spirit. But that was a problem for tomorrow. Today, I had a dragon to tame. I opened the door and stepped into the fire. The end.